So friends, today we are going to talk about networking and how are we going to debug networking issues on servers and on systems. So let's say we have two servers. They cannot exist in isolation. You want your servers to interact and exchange information and do some work for you. So let's take this is server 1 and this is server 2. This server 1 wants to send some data to servers 2, or server 2 is requesting data from server 1. So how is that going to happen? So first of all, this transfer of information happens over an interface. So all these servers have network interfaces on them through which they are able to interact with the outside world. So these are called network interfaces. Network interfaces. You must have heard about IP addresses. IP address is always of a network interface. So if this server has multiple network interfaces, let's say it has two network interfaces, N1 and N2. So this server is going to have two IP address. Let's say this is IP1 and this is IP2, IP3. So when some request is sent to IP2, it is going to land on the N1 network interface of this server. When we are addressing this server or addressing IP1, then it is going to land on this IP address or network interface. So IP address is always of a network interface. Now let's see how these servers interact. So for interaction, you are always going to need some form of common understanding between the participants. So for example, if two humans are interacting, they know that they have to reach a common understanding of a language or of a notation of wordings or wordings they both can use to interact fruitfully among themselves. So for us humans, that language can be English, Hindi, Urdu, German, French, Russian, anything. But for servers, and separate set of people interact in separate set of languages. For example, Russian people will interact with themselves in Russian. Indian people are going to interact with themselves in Indian languages. They can be different Indian languages, and English people are going to interact in English. So, and if Russian and English person, so this is Russian person, and this is let's say German person. If Russia, the R1 knows only Russian language and G1 knows only German language, they are not able to interact with one another. So they need to have a common language through which they can interact. Similarly, servers can interact among themselves if they have a common set of notations or common set of language that they can use. Language would be the wrong thing, but common set of protocol or common set of rules that they both can follow to interact with one another. So you must have heard about HTTP, HTTPS, SSH. These are all ways to interact with servers. For example, if I want to fetch something from google.com, what I have to do is http://google.com, and it is this. In this case, that is human operator me, have opened google.com, and servers of google.com has sent me this page. This page is basically a collection of bits or collection of text that they have sent. So in this case, humans have interacted with machines by speaking in machine language, and there are programs that can convert human language to machine language and machine language to human language. So HTTP is one of the common understandings between servers, or HTTP is a protocol. Protocol is basically a set of rules that participants must follow so that servers can talk among themselves or machines can talk among themselves. HTTP is one of the mechanisms, SSH is one of the mechanisms, HTTPS is one of the mechanisms, and all these communication happen between IP address and port. So if server 1 wants to communicate with server 2, then let's take port P3 is going to send request IP3, and port P3 is going to send request to IP2 and port P2, and then the response is going to come on this. Request and response are going to come on this, on the same set. So on the lower level, what is going to happen? S1 and S2, there is going to be a long range of connection of optical cables between these two servers. So in this case, server 1 and server 2 are connected via some optical fibers, or some physical connection has to be there between these two devices, or some sort of connection has to be there. It can be a Wi-Fi connection, it can be physical connection, forms of optical cables or LAN cable, but some connection has to be there. And whenever this piece of information is traveling, it's not traveling like google.com written over it. It is traveling in bits like zeros and ones. And there are different ways in which 0 and 1s can be combined to create language for servers to interact in. For example, these three are the ways. So at a lower level, it's a physical connection. At a higher level, there is TCP and or UDP connection. And at even higher level, there is HTTP and or HTTPS or SH or any of the other human understandable formats. So TCP is basically a way of transferring data. So basically this happens like this. So for example, when you are opening your browser and sending the request, it is basically HTTP. Then this request or this piece of data is transformed into TCP connection, and then on a TCP connection, and then TCP packets are sent. Those packets are translated into a physical connection, or over a physical connection between these two devices. And once we reach on the receiving side, for example server 2, then this physical packets are converted to TCP packets. These TCP packets are back converted to HTTP data, and then the receiver, or S2 in this case, gets the response or gets the information sent by the server 1. So TCP is or UDP are the underlying protocols or the rules through which HTTP, HTTPS or SH actually transfer the data. So this is called layer 7. This is called layer 3 and or layer 4. This is called layer 4 and this is layer 0. We are not concerned about layer 0 currently. We are just concerned about layer 7 and layer 4. So all the HTTP connections are happening via TCP. Okay. All the HTTP connections are happening via TCP. So whenever you do an HTTP connection from to google.com, what is happening is your browser is hosted on your laptop. Your browser is requesting your operating system to open a port on your local system. Then that port is used, IP address of your laptop, and the port that operating system has allotted is then reaching to google.com server on port 80 or port 443, whichever port is this. And then once this is read, it creates a TCP connection. Once TCP connection is established, then browser or application is going to send data to the operating system kernel. It is going to convert that data into TCP format, and in the TCP format, that data is being transferred from IP and port of your local system to IP and port of google.com. And once that data is received, or TCP packets, as we say, TCP packets are received by google.com. So their servers process that information. Again, the operating system running on google.com converts that information into TCP packets. They are sent back over the same connection, and when TCP packets are received by the operating system, they are converted back to HTTP or whatever protocol was initially used, and then they are basically consumed by the requesting application. In this way, how HTTP works. This is the way how HTTP works. So for example, let's try to see something. When we do curl odc jobs.in, let's do curl google.com. Okay, what is happening is a connection would have established from my system to google.com. Let's try to find out IP of google.com by nslookup google.com. It gives me IP of this domain name, which is this. When I do curl google.com, then it is going to connect from my laptop to IP this. Let's try to find out how. Let's start -http ref this. So you can see what happened. As soon as I hit google.com, this is my local IP address of the server. This is the port on which my local 56020. So this is the local port of my system. This is Google's IP address. So this port, IPN port, is sending data to this port and this IPN port, and then google.com has returned me this data. This google.com has returned me this data, and and then the application requesting it, in this case curl, is showing me the data back. So in this case, what we are getting is, let's try doing it again. Let's try to see this. Not all processes could be identified. Let's try to run it with sudo. Sudo is required when you want to check the process which was establishing connection to a particular host port. And in this case, so as you can see, currently there is no connection because there is no request to google.com being made. Now let's try to make a request and then quickly check what is the connection. Curl google.com, it gave me the response. Now check. Now you can see this 56592 port was allotted. 56592 port was allotted. This IP address was this. This is the IP address of google.com. This is IP address of my server, of my system from which the request was being made. So these combination, so this combination of these two is interacting with combination of these two. Okay, so that is how TCP works, or that is how your requests are being served from your system to another system. Now let's to find out what data is being transported between these two systems. So this data is TCP. When data is traveling between IP and port, it is in TCP or UDP format. TCP is transmission control protocol. Transmission control protocol. And UDP is user datagram protocol. So let's try to understand TCP first, then we are going to go on UDP. TCP is a connection oriented protocol. So for example, before the data is transferred between this IP port to this IP port, a connection is established. Operating system is establishing a connection from this port, this IP port to this IP port, and once connection is established, it is then sending the data on this established connection. Now let's try to find out what data is being sent on the TCP. Let's try to log into this server in another terminal, and we are going to run a special command or run a command which is going to let us snoop or let us eavesdrop on the TCP connection between my system and google.com. So what is the command? Sudo TCP dump -a host google.com. Okay. So it is now listening for all connections to all TCP connections to google.com, host google.com. Now I'm going to make a curl request. There is no data in this terminal tab. Let's try to make a curl request. So what was happening, what wrong was happening is, as we have seen, IP address and port are always of a particular network interface. So when you are running TCP dump, either it should be running on the default interface, but in my case, my interface was ENS0, ENS3. So I have to specify ENS3 network interface and then try to run TCP dump on google.com. And now let's try to hit the curl request and see whether we got the data or not. Yes, we got the data. As you can see, there is a lot of exchange between google.com and my server. I'm not going to explain each and every information present in this output of TCP dump command, but it basically shows what all data is being transferred between these two connections, these two IP port and IP port combinations. And you can eavesdrop, you can check what all data is being transferred. You can use it to debug your application. You can use it to eavesdrop some connection if you have access to that connection. And let's try to find what all information is being sent. So there is obviously some connection setup that is happening between your system and google.com's IPs. Now let's see what is happening. Here you can see there is a get request on /http1, and what is its response? We are getting, this is the response of that HTTP request. So as you can see, when we hit curl google.com, it was converted to TCP packets. It was sent over the connection between google.com and your server, and they were converted to TCP packet. And once the response was received, let's try to debug it. Let's try to see what is happening here. So you can see here is the request that is happening, curl request that we made to our server, curl google.com. So google.com means on the root request, that is slash. If no path is given, then slash is considered, and it is saying that my user agent was curl, and host is google.com, and accept star. And what did we get? This is the request, and this is the response. It says 301 moved permanently. It says 301 moved permanently, and other set of responses that it has sent. So this is how you can eavesdrop an HTTP connection, because connection between your system and google.com is not secure. That's why everyone is focused on moving to HTTPS. In this case, this data, this transfer is encrypted. In the initial stages of setting up a connection, in initial stages of HTTPS, whenever this network is being set up, they agree that they both are going to send encrypted data. They are both agree that they are going to send encrypted data. TCP packets contain encrypted data. TCP packets are not itself encrypted. They contain encrypted data. So even if we are able to intercept those packets, we won't be able to get hold of what is written in them. Let's try to find out again. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to listen to google.com on my interface ENS3, network interface ENS3. Now let's see what happens when I hit http://google.com, https. So by default, if https is not given, it is considered HTTP, is the default protocol for curl. Now let's try hitting Google https. It has given me the same response, moved permanently. Now let's try to find out what is the response for the TCP dump. You can see, as you can see, there's no sight of what data was being sent by google.com. In the earlier request, we were able to interpret the data that was sent back by google.com. But in this case, we are not able to understand the data that is being, because all of this data or all of the data transfer that is happening in HTTPS connection is encrypted. All the data transfer is encrypted. So even if you get hold of those packets, you won't be able to interpret the results. So we have seen how to check connectivity between these two instances by telnet, google.com. 80 port, it is saying that it is able to connect. We should to escape from this command, you have to press Control, then Shift, and then square brackets. Square bracket is this bracket on your keyboard. Then Control D for dog. Then this is how you can check. And now let's see a connectivity on port 443. Similarly, you're going to exit. So to check connectivity between two servers on an IP port to an IP port, we are going to give IP or its host name and the port. In this case also, we are able to connect. Control square bracket and then Control D is going to exit. Another way of checking connectivity is via NC command. NC stands for netcat. How to check connectivity using netcat command is nc-v-z google.com and space 80 port. In this case, you are able to connect. It is connected to this IP, because always connections are made to an IP address. They're not made to a domain name. They're made to an IP address. Domain name points to an IP address. Similarly, on port, let's try to check connectivity on port 81. In this case, it is not exiting. That means it is not able to connect on port 81. So you show that you don't have connectivity on port 81. Check connectivity on port 443 by this nc-vz google.com space port 443. You are able to connect. So this is the way. And command for TCP dump is sudo TCP dump -a -i interface. To check what interface you're having, you just have to write if config is the command to check the network interfaces and IP addresses. In this case, my interface is this. You're able to see my interface is this ENS3. So I have to write sudo TCP dump space -i ENS3 capital A. Capital A stands for ASCII. It is going to show you the data in ASCII format or ASCII characters. Host specifies the IP address, or in this case google.com to connect to, and if you also want to give port, then and port 80, then it is only going to listen on port 80 for google.com. So even if you do curl https google.com, it is not going to capture that traffic. And as soon as you write http google.com, so http is basically 80 port, so it is going to capture that. You can see it has captured the data for port 80 on google.com. Now we have understood about TCP. It is a connection oriented protocol. That means whenever two servers want to interact over TCP, their IP and port, whichever port they want to use for their connection, they have IP1 and IP2, whichever port P1 and P2 they want to use, they first establish a connection. Once an connection has been established, they transfer the data. And once the data, and for example, let's say there was some physical problem, or let's say there was some issue in the internet due to which some packets were not able to transfer. TCP has retry mechanisms. Operating systems or the network softwares that are running on the servers which are handling the TCP connections between two servers S1 and S2, they are going to coordinate among themselves using the TCP, transmission control protocol. Protocol basically means set of rules that both of these servers have to follow to communicate efficiently and understandably between themselves. So they are going to follow the rules, and if there has been a packet drop or for some reason a particular packet was not able to transfer, they are going to retry. And once the retry is successful, and all the data transfer has been done, they are going to just like the connection was being set up, the connection is being connection also torn down in the case of TCP. And unlike TCP, UDP is connectionless protocol. TCP is connection oriented protocol. TCP is connection oriented. Protocol, and UDP is connectionless protocol. Connectionless protocol means that if two servers want to communicate to one another via UDP, there is no need to set up a connection between these two servers. Obviously, connection has to be there, but connection setup phase is not there. This server is just going to throw the packet out and going to stop listening on this port. It is just going to throw the packet out and going to stop listen. So for server 1, obviously IP and port IP and port are necessary because all the communication happen between IP and port. Combination of IP and port is called socket. Combination of IP and port. IP plus port. So it is going to through the packet, and it is not going to listen for the acknowledgement. In this case, once a packet was sent and this server received the packet, this server has to send an acknowledgement. This is called ACK, that this packet 1 was received, and as soon as server 1 received that packet 1 has been received, then it knows that packet transmission was successful. It can send the second packet or whatever process they are using to communicate between themselves. They are going to use those rules. But in this case, server 1 is just going to send the packet. Server 2 is not going to send its acknowledgement. So even if this packet was not able to go forward, server 1 has no way of knowing it. It is just fire and forget type of protocol. So you will query that why this protocol is required. This protocol is required in the scenario in which applications server 1 and server 2 are ensuring that they have an understanding of data transmission among themselves. They don't want network layer or packets acknowledgement, packet level acknowledgement. They don't want packet level acknowledgement. They are handling that themselves, or for low priority use cases. Because TCP is a complex protocol, because once a packet has to go, then a receiver has to receive, then another packet has to go, a receiver has to receive, and if there is a packet drop or packet are lost in the transmission and ACK is not received in a defined a time frame, then IP1 will resend that packet. IP1 will send that packet again, and even if the so some computation power or some resources are required to support TCP, whereas UDP is a very lightweight protocol. It's just in fire and forget. So use cases in which UDP is required is, for example, monitoring. In monitoring, you just want to throw the metrics out. You don't want to consume server resources like CPU, memory, network, or etc. You don't want that much resources or that much reliability while sending the metrics. It is basically you don't want your system to go down for the sake of sending metrics. You want system stability, but you don't want to use more resources for metrics. So in those cases, for sending metrics, UDP is used. For there are other different use cases in which UDP is used. One of the major use cases is metrics or monitoring metrics, which servers send to, for example, in earlier cases, we have seen that servers send their CPU, memory, and disk utilization metrics every 15 seconds. Every 15 seconds, and if to Prometheus database. And even if one or two packets drop, even if 99% connectivity is there, it is okay, because even some packet drops are not going to have that much greater impact, and they are going to use less resources, so that is cost efficient for you. So that is everything that I wanted to share regarding the networking concepts, regarding the debugging of networking issues, regarding things that you may require for networking. So TCP dump is the command to use when you want to check TCP packets of an unencrypted connection. HTTPS has encrypted connection. HTTP doesn't have encrypted connection. There are other protocols also that are having unencrypted data. So that is it for today. Thank you very much. Please let me know if you have any queries in the comments and I'll try to answer them all. Have a nice day.